Hello and welcome to Aquila University. Today's topic will be eCTD around the world. I am Jared McDonald and I will be the presenter for today. Disclosure note, we will be recording this and your WebEx names will show up, as will any questions that you ask. So if you're uncomfortable with that, please now and you will have access to this webinar sometime next week. I'm Jared McDonald. I've got 7 years of experience in research, regulatory, operations, affairs, and publishing. I came to Aquila back in 2011. What we will be going over today, an overview, the current state of the art in eCTD affairs, how to get to the eCTD system, what can fully support it, the expected schedule of future countries looking to move to eCTD, questions, and then what will be on the next Aquila University. So, the EH created the eCTD, and it is the preferred and frequently mandated standard for submitting to governing bodies for just about all industrialized countries. Emerging and far emerging nations. Far emerging means that they are already industrialized or have come out of the emerging nation stage and are just now getting into the pharma industry. Those are moving towards eCTD, but the process does take quite some time and up to 5 years. Okay, the current state of eCTD. eCTD is the Electronic Common Technical Document and the gold standard for submitting to governing bodies around the world. It is not the most accepted, because it's still the most accepted, but that later. It was developed by the International Council on Harmonization, and main components consist of leaf documents, which are the PDFs and Word documents that be sent to the directory file structure, which is part of the harmonization of it all. XML backbone, which says where documents are located within a submission. File sheets, which show the user's computer how to display individual documents and the overall submission. And it supports agency review tools for lifecycle management. This is the full structure of the CTD eCTD. You can see the top portion in red, the Regional Administrative Information. Module 1 is not in the CTD. Each regional administration section is dictated by the host nation. So while many countries, for instance in Europe, use similar regional sections, they have translation requirements for labeling and things like that specific to each country. But on the other hand, if you are using the ICH eCTD structure, Module 2 through 5 will be the same for everyone. And that's the harmonization of it all comes in, and that's what makes it easier to submit to many different governing bodies around the world. So Module 2 is summary sections that you summarize everything in the eCTD. There's a summary for quality, non-clinical, clinical. Module 3 is quality. That's your manufacturing and chemistry. Module 4 is non-clinical reports. And Module 5 is clinical. I mentioned NICE earlier. NICE is the non-eCTD submission. It's still accepted many places, but eCTD is by far preferred. Actually created in Europe as a stepping stone to eCTD because it has the same file structure and similar file names, but it does not contain the XML backbone, style sheets, or review tools for agencies, which really is it because you can get into lifecycle management that way. To navigate a NICE, you create individual tables of contents for each set or module, and then you use PDF links to get from there. And cons. Well, like I said, lifecycle management. eCTD allows for relationships between documents and submissions. So, for instance, you to swap out a new protocol. You've got version 2 and submitted that in your very first sequence, 0000. Now you've got version 2 of your protocol and you need to change it. Well, you can use the lifecycle management tools within eCTD to go in and say sequence 8 and swap out with the next bullet point of replace. You can also put new document in, you can append, and you can have related sequences. So what I was just talking about with maybe swapping out protocols, you can say this version 2 protocol is related to your sequence with 000. And that way the reviewer can see both the old version and the new version, but the reviewer will know that version 2 is the current and most up-to-date version. And is usually only used for study tagging files, but it is more widely used for full documents in the EU. Now, NICE, on the other hand, only deals with one submission at a time. So while in a run you may think, oh, it'll be much easier for me to just submit this one and then I can write a section in for my next NICE submission referring to the other. Well, maybe write it later as the reviewer goes through all of your different NICE submissions. It can bog them down and they really don't like that. So stick with it. Also, eCTD is mandatory in many places. For instance, the EU, in Australia, 2017 for INDs and 2018 for INDs in the US. So you move in that direction anyway. All right, so how do countries get there? With a lot of patience, validation, testing, validation, and pilot programs to test all of that again. Think about the physical space that all these servers would take up. Granted, not as CTD paper because you're not backing up a haul truck to the FDA or anything like that, but it still takes a lot of space. So get these machines to communicate with each other and probably share information. You have to create workflows, standard operating procedures, and all the software to make sure that documents and the eCTDs talk to her. Once you've created all that, you have to test it all and validate from an internal perspective. So when the FDA sets it up, and they run their own internal testing. Once done, they open up a pilot program, which is like a testing program for other companies to come in and submit eCTDs to what the governing body is. And while they're doing that, anything that's accepted through the pilot program is accepted as a real eCTD, but it's also helping out the governing body to their new system. During this pilot program, you must validate incoming and outgoing message to and from the governing body. So, there's more testing in that way. Since the length of time that it would take, the U.S. took around 2 years to get the system up and running. Australia took about 3. EU took a little over 3. Saudi Arabia took a little over 5. So you can see that this is a long and technical process. All right, countries fully support eCTD at this time. Here's a little map to show you. As you can see, most of the industrialized nations do accept eCTD, and like I said earlier, Europe, Australia, it's mandated there. To be mandated in the U.S., and the Gulf Cooperation Council, which is Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, all that, is also pushing for it mandatory. Please note that Thailand, South Korea, and China are currently in programs, which means you can still submit to them, and actually you'd be helping them test their systems. But pilot programs, there are usually different versions of eCTD. For instance, 0.3 was the pilot testing version for Australia. The current version is 3.0. It's still accepted. It's preferable for the governing body to receive eCTDs that way, but just be aware that some things may change in the future. So the projected schedule of future countries. Not that many in the near future, sadly. There's been talk of it all around the world. In terms of hard legislation moving forward, there really isn't any. The closest would be Brazil, that 2013 passed a public consultation on it. Technically, it is still open, but due to other issues that they're having, they haven't really moved forward in a concrete way, in a more EU-style system, which obviously the FDA system and the United States are not states, they're state of a nation. Everyone knows that. But anyway, also the Pan American Health Organization has had regional talks on the subject. Currently, they haven't really moved forward on it, and all those nations typically have their own internal nation-specific dossiers, which, if you did an eCTD for the U.S., many of those components can be used for a nation or regional specific case. Commonwealth of Independent States, that is Russia and former Soviet republics. They're very adamant about keeping their own native languages and specific dossiers. So there's much in that front for them moving forward to eCTD. Like I said earlier, the specific dossiers have many components that eCTDs, so if you're going to submit somewhere else in the world, you might as well go ahead and use eCTD and then just break it apart for any specifics that you would like to submit to. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations has their own version of CTD called eCTD, which is ASEAN CTD. It's very similar, but then also different in that it's constructed into only 4 modules instead of 5 modules. And Module 2, which is their summary section, is CTD's Module 2, and combined with the quality section, which is CTD Module 3. So again, if you created an eCTD in the U.S. and you wanted to submit to, say, the Philippines, you break it down and slightly restructure it, and it would still work there. We have even talked about, now currently that's paper, we talked about making an eCTD, with their electronic version of the ACTD. The exceptions to ASEAN are Thailand and Singapore, which are both in, well, Singapore accepts eCTD, and Thailand is in the eCTD pilot program, as I mentioned earlier. All right. At this time, are there any questions? Okay. I guess I don't see anything on the chat. If you would like this sent to you, or a larger sheet of more detailed information sent to you, be arranged. And email us at info@aquila.us, or sorry, info@aquilasolutions.us. And all this information will be available on our site probably early next week. And next time on Aquila University, we will be going over using SPLs. What is SPL? When to use SPL? How to submit the labels. And that will be March 25th, 2016, from 2:30 p.m. And have a nice day.